Hello, welcome to lesson 12 of how to make iPhone apps with no programming experience. In this lesson, we're going to hook up our button taps to randomize the card images in our card game. Before we jump into our Xcode project to do that, I've got a playground open and I'm going to show you some of the tools that we're going to use here first. So if you forget how to start a playground, watch lesson 2 again, and once you've got your playground open, try to follow along. Okay, so the first thing is how to randomize a number. So it's actually really easy to generate a random number. You simply use the function arc4random, and there's a couple of them, but we want to use this one, arc4random_uniform, and this function accepts an integer. So let's say we pass in 100. So you can see there, as soon as I complete it, it shows 40 right there. Let me just make this one a little more narrow. Just press enter again, it refreshes, and I've got 11 this time. I can keep doing it, and I'm gonna get a random number each time. So you might be wondering, where does arc4random come from, and how can I just call this random function out of nowhere? Because it's not associated with any object, so it's not an instance method, and it's not associated with any class, so it's not a type method. So what is it? Well, it's part of the standard libraries that are imported as part of UIKit. So you'll see that if I comment out UIKit there, it no longer recognizes this function. So in the same way that I can use println, to output a string, arc4random is just like that. And we're going to use this function to generate a random number between 1, which is our ace, all the way up to 13, which is our king. The thing is though, if you put in 13 in here, it generates a random number from 0 to 12. So actually what we want to do is add 1 to it. And this is actually going to get us random numbers from 1 to 13. So that's the first piece of the puzzle. The second thing I want to show you guys is how to create a string that is based on a variable. So far when we create strings, we've been just opening up 2 quotes and typing in some text in the middle, like this. And that works fine, but what happens if we want to combine a variable in the string? Well, we can create a new string object by typing string and these 2 brackets, right? Well, that creates an empty string. The cool thing about the string class is it also has a custom initializer, just like the UI image class, which we used in the last lesson. And this custom initializer method will allow us to put in part of a string, as well as dynamically specify some variables. So let's take a look at how that works. I'm going to erase these 2 brackets. I'm going to type in the opening bracket. I'm going to type in F because I know the first parameter is format. And we're going to use this one right here. It's going to pre-fill the parameters for me. Remember, in a method call, the first parameter needs to have the label and the following parameters don't. So the first parameter is a string. And I'm going to type in test. Okay, and for the second argument, it's basically the variable or piece of text or whatever data that you want to substitute into the string. So for my piece of data, let's sub in hello. Okay, well, how does it know where to put in hello? So my format string needs to have a wildcard character, and hello is going to be it's going to replace the wildcard character. So the wildcard character looks like this. It's %@. And now you can see that this string object is test hello. Now if I put this wildcard character in the middle, like that, you can see the result is that hello is substituted into the middle. Now let's expand on this. I can go var some text equals balloon. And then instead of this hard-coded string, hello, I can put some text like that. And now you can see that the string object in this variable is inserted into the middle of my format string, like that. So maybe now you can begin to see where we're getting with this, because we named all of the image assets in our Xcode project according to card 1, card 2, card 3, and so on and so forth, right? So we can actually do something like this, card, and then put %at, and then this would dynamically give us card plus some number. If we take this randomizing function and we put it in here, we change some text to random number, and then we replace that. So it's going to substitute random number to the end of this format string. It's complaining right now because %at is actually the wildcard character for strings. So because random number is actually an int, what we need is %i. We're probably going to be using this string initializer method a lot to create dynamic strings. So you can see here that the result of these two lines of code is this card 3. If I press enter, now it's card 12. So this is the combination that we're going to use to randomize a number and then create a string for it that will represent one of the assets in our project's asset library. So now let's go into our Xcode project and implement these two pieces of code. Okay, so here I've got our Xcode project open where we left off last time. And let's go into the viewController.swift into the play round tapped. Now right here we've got two lines of code changing the UI image view image property to different images. So we know card 1 is our ace and card 11 is our jack. So instead of hard coding this, I basically want to do what we did in the playground, randomize a number, create a string off of that number, and substitute that into here and here. And so each time we tap the play button, it's going to run this method and it's going to randomize. It's basically going to change the image views to two random cards. Okay, so let's do that. So we can go var first random number equals arc for random uniform 13 plus 1. And this will give us a random number from 1 to 13. Next, we want to create a string off of that. So I'm going to say var first card string. I'm just going to label it string equals new string object using the format initializer that we just learned. So I'm going to write card %i. I'm going to press tab, and here I'm just going to pass in first random number, which is the variable here. So what I end up with is a piece of a string, a piece of text that's going to be card plus my random number. And then all I need to do is, instead of putting card 1 here, I'm going to erase that hard-coded string and put in first card string. Right, so just like that, it's going to give me a random card. So I'm going to run it to demonstrate. Okay, so I'm going to tap play now, and our code is going to get executed. So it happens that this card randomized to an ace. It looks like I had to double check because we had hard coded it to an ace, but maybe it was just it randomly picked an ace. Let's press it again to randomize another card. Okay, and there we go. It was just a coincidence that it was an ace. Now each time we tap it, it's going to randomize to a different number. Now we just got to do that same thing for the second card. Okay, so now that we're beginning to write more code, I want to introduce you to the practice of writing comments and documenting your code. And comments are basically just these green statements right here. They're not really code and they don't get executed, but they're there to serve as documentation for your code, both for yourself and for other people who read your code. It's going to make it a lot easier for them to understand what you're trying to do. And when you revisit this code in the future, believe me, you won't remember right now when you're writing it. You know exactly what's going on and what you're trying to do. But in the future, when you read your code again after several months, you'll have to relearn everything and reread everything and re-understand everything. Unless you have some documentation or comments, it makes it that much more easy. So in order to start a comment, all you have to do is do 2 slashes like that. And when you do that, anything you type after those 2 slashes is considered a comment and won't get executed. So here I'm going to say randomize a number for the first image view. Right here, construct a string with the random number. In here, I'm going to write set the first card image view to the asset corresponding to the randomized number. Another thing that commenting is good for is just temporarily commenting out a piece of code. So for example, if I didn't want to change my second card view in this method, I could simply put 2 slashes like that in front of it, and that would prevent this line of code from executing without having to delete the entire line, because I could bring it back just by going like that and erasing the 2 slashes. So it's a good way to temporarily disable a line of code. When we get to debugging, this can be a good thing to try. If you're suspecting that this line of code is causing problems, you could temporarily comment it out and then run your app, see if the problem occurs and stuff like that. So if you've got a big block of code, there's another way to write a comment, because doing these 2 slashes will just comment out that line. But if you want to comment out a big block of code, what you can do is do slash star and then star slash like that. And anything in between these 2 characters will be considered comments and won't get executed. So I'm just going to undo that. And you can see here that I'm putting a white space in between each line. You could do it like this. There's no problem with that, but it's just less readable. It increases readability when you add some white space in your code. Okay, so now I want to basically randomize another number for my second card image view. So I'm going to create another variable, second random number. Basically do the same thing. Randomize a number for the second image view. Construct a string with the random number. Var second card string. And the first time you do this, you probably won't be typing as fast as I am, but by the end of the course, if you keep practicing alongside, using these methods and typing this code will seem like second nature to you. So now I want to pass in the second random number. And then here, instead of this hard-coded card 11, I want to pass in the second card string. Set the second card image view to the asset corresponding to the randomized number. Okay, I'm gonna run it. Now, if everything goes well, I should be able to get 2 random cards each time I press the play button. Okay, this is really great. So we're on our way. In the next lesson, I want to introduce you guys to arrays and show you guys a different way of specifying the random cards in a way that we're not constructing the card name here, and it doesn't depend on what we name these cards.